Hello, welcome back to the sideboard one last time here at the StarCityGames.com Modern Open in Louisville, part of the SCG Tour, brought to you by Ultimate Guard. Nick Miller alongside now two-time Open champion Harlan. Congratulations.
Got me a second trophy.
Last one came 2014 in Richmond.
Yeah.
Now you got this one, two-day Open format. You played SCGKY in the one in 2014 back with the tokens.
Oh, yeah. Little Manus Rider action out of the board.
And you're doing it again. You've been playing this SCGKY control, SCGKY Geist deck for years.
No.
Yes.
No, I've played it probably for the past 2, maybe 3 months.
It's been a long time.
I was playing Teamer a lot before this.
Well, you shouldn't have been.
Yeah, well, Teamer is bad now, but Path Exile is great.
So you've been playing this deck. You got Jonathan Rossum on this list, or a type of list.
Finally stopped him from showing me up. Last two Opens he's played, he's top 8'd. I finally got a trophy. You don't have one.
Second about place every finish
Rossum.
but a win. And he was watching from home. He was on Twitter cheering, so I'm sure he was happy for you here. But what has happened to the format to where this deck is now in a prime position?
So Eldrazi Tron finally started getting hated on. That's half my losses this weekend, or 2 of my 3 losses this weekend. That matchup's like really tough. It's really hard to fix. My recommendation is kind of don't try. Notice I didn't have any rejections on my board anymore. And the decks that are preying on it are really good matchups for me. Storm is good against it. The Valakut Titan Shift decks are really good against it. Those decks are both good matchups for me. To make those matchups better than they were, I started playing Spell Snare again.
Yeah, and that was very good in a lot of matchups.
Yeah, Spell Snare has been fantastic for me all weekend.
Just in the finals, it showed very strong being able to take care of Snapcaster Mage, probably one of the most important cards outside of Geist in the mirror, I'd have to imagine. So when you make it to the finals and you have this SCGKY mirror, what are your thoughts? How are you going to go into playing the match?
So you'll notice in game 1 we were kind of just draw going because nobody had Geist. Geist is really important early, or like just to jam on an empty board. It represents the hardest thing to deal with. Post-boarded, it's a little bit different because we each have a verdict in as just clean answers. And then there are trumps to a Geist, like P and Kieran Nalaar, and he has Elspeth. Elspeth wasn't good enough in that 3rd game. That's one of the reasons I moved away from Elspeth is we're only playing a 24-lane control deck, so 6 mana is a lot in those games. Where like P and Kieran, I got to fight over it, where Elspeth, he just died.
Right, he was able to resolve it, but then it didn't matter because you had already set up what you wanted to do. You had enough Baron plus the flying damage.
Yeah, from the
just able to
Colonnade,
swing back and take the match. Where's this deck going forward? Because seeing this deck outside of Spell Queller is almost the same thing that was doing well in Modern.
In 2012.
4 years ago.
Yeah, I mean that's how these reactive decks always go. Is like when you're trying to be reactive, you have to get the metagame right, and Modern's really hard to do that. Like the past several Opens, I've 11-4'd the last 2 or 3 individual Opens with this deck, and if one matchup goes wrong, it's the difference between a top 8 and just a cash. So.
All right, so you're in the top 8, and you have Tom in the semifinals after you had a rough match against him in the Swiss.
Yeah.
Did you do anything differently in that top 4 match?
Than I did previously. My game 1 hand was much better because I had more than 1 land. Tom and I both agreed that my game 1 hand in the Swiss was correct. So, I mean, that was kind of, I just didn't draw lands. But having 7 cards is huge in that matchup. Mulliganing is really, really tough and bad. No, I think my draws lined up a little bit better against what he had going on. And the matchup's definitely closer than the first time we played looked.
Sure.
The second time is more indicative of how the matchup actually goes.
Right.
So
all of his losses were in basically the top 4 of this tournament, and 2 of them were SCGKY.
Yeah.
You guys both, in the matches that you won, the matches weren't very close.
Yeah.
They looked close, but I mean the games came down to you just having 2-for-1s and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You couldn't really handle it.
Yeah. Against Tom earlier, I got stuck on the 1 land, and then game 2 he resolved the Delirium Skeins that I didn't see coming, so I was just completely out of resources and died to the rack.
All right, pick up your copies now of that heavily played card there.
Modern All-Star.
All right, last question. Where's the format going? Because this format, it moves, but it moves sort of slowly. But we've definitely seen it over the last couple of Modern events.
I think a reactive deck like SCGKY isn't going to change anything. I think the format will stay the same. People might play more cards against control. We're pretty much already maxed out on dispels. Like a lot of decks are playing 2, some are playing 3. I don't know. Maybe back to Lightning Bolt since bow colors are popular.
Yeah.
I can only hope.
All right, well, you've got a long drive ahead of you.
Yes.
So I will congratulate you one last time. Good job
Alrighty.
on this
Thank you, Nick.
weekend. For Harlan, I'm Nick Miller. Going to shoot it back over to Patrick and Cedric one last time here in Louisville.